Joining me now is Senior Fellow at the Yale Law School's Tsai China Center, Samm Sachs. Samm, welcome back to the show. So Kevin Hassett there says this deal is about to be closed. What does that mean? It seems impossible a trade deal would happen this quickly.
A truce is back on track. Here's what happened. The two sides met in Geneva less than a month ago, and then whatever they agreed to, and we can talk about whether that was substantive or not, quickly fell apart as the U.S. unrolled new export controls on China's tech sector, and China held up export controls on rare earths. Now I think both sides desperately want a deal, and they need it for economic reasons, they need it for political reasons, and the question is, how deep will it go? Will this be a surface deal? Will it just bring back stability, or will they really get at some of the challenging issues that have been vexing the relationship?
Okay, so Geneva being a few weeks ago, but the timeline leading up to this in-person meeting, let's talk about that, because just a few days prior to their phone call, President Trump took to social media to voice his frustrations with President Xi, saying he's extremely hard to make a deal with. I mean, tomorrow's meeting, do you see it as a de-escalation? What do you think will have brought both sides to the table?
So I read Trump's post on Truth Social a bit differently. To me, it said, I need a deal, so please call me. And also by Trump saying that she is a really hard deal maker, he's trying to signal that if and when they do come to some kind of a deal, it's because he only is the master deal maker that would be able to get Xi to come to the negotiating table. So when I saw that post, I said, aha, it's going to happen.
So to your point, one of the biggest points of contention has been the exchange of rare earth magnets, of which China currently makes 90% of the world's supply. Will China be using this as a bargaining chip?
Beijing discovered that its controls on rare earths are a true choke point. And I don't think the Trump administration was at all prepared for the panic that would ensue when U.S. automakers, the defense industry, and more suddenly were caught in a lurch. I mean, we heard reports just a week ago that at a time when Trump is trying to reshore auto manufacturing, U.S. automakers had been considering paradoxically moving their factory production to China just so that they could capture the rare earths they need and export them to the U.S. as finally assembled goods. So I think that this administration was completely caught off guard. Beijing has real leverage with this choke point.
Okay, there's another thing to consider here, though, because the U.S. in recent weeks has cracked down on international students, saying that it's going to begin revoking the visas of some Chinese students. More than half of all international students enrolled here in U.S. colleges and universities came from India and China. So this has been another thorn in the relationship. Do you think it'll play into the negotiations?
It absolutely is being put forward as a negotiating tactic, but this is yet another example where the Trump administration is shooting itself in the foot. Not only do universities around the nation rely on the tuition payments of international students, and a huge majority of those are coming from Chinese tuition. They pay full tuition.
Right.
But these are also the best and brightest from around the world. Look, we want to outpace China in emerging technologies, but our ability to attract top-tier STEM students to our universities and research labs is the way to do that. So I think this is going to be part of a negotiating tactic. I would be very surprised if they stick to it.
So both President Trump and the officials close to him have hinted they are very close to ironing out a deal. But with only a few weeks left in the 90-day tariff pause, do you think there's enough time for both sides to come out with a trade deal that everyone is happy with?
What we're likely to see, at least initially, is something that will allow us to kick the can down the road. I don't think in 90 days they're going to resolve some of the really intractable issues like restructuring China's economy, what happens with U.S. export controls on China. But what they're going to do is probably carve out a path that will create some guardrails so that things don't fall off as they did before. I could see a deal potentially down the road, not necessarily in 90 days, that involves large purchases from China of U.S. agricultural goods, for example. But the thing to watch going forward, and that's new, is that now the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, is part of the U.S. negotiating team. Before, it was just U.S. T.R. Greer and Secretary Treasury Bessent. They added Lutnick because that is a signal that export controls on the U.S. side will now be squarely on the negotiating table. This is something that Beijing has wanted for a very long time.